how do you feel your group's progressed since the spring, and what have you really been happy with so far at fall camp?
Yeah, I think day to day, you see improvement with the group. I think really you talk about guys that have been pushing the depth, pushing the two deep. Some guys have really showed up in a positive way through camp, and really have just kind of been building on what we were able to do in spring practice. But through kind of the first half of fall camp, I think we're all pretty happy with where the offensive line is and the growth that they've made.
Who are some of the guys that are providing the depth right now?
Yeah, I would say early on, and guys that made pushes, Tyler Morrow found his way to the two deep. James Neal, we bumped him down to guard. I think the combination of Dodge Sauser on the inside and Brady Peterson kind of building in that two group. Jim Boniface has come along, here late, and Grant Driver, guys that are all kind of in that mix, in that two deep outside of that, first group, I think have really been growing and doing some positive things.
Oftentimes the line, it seems like the line is the most injured position because players are getting twisted every which way. Are you guys injury free?
Today we're close. I think at this point in fall camp, you have your bumps and bruises. I think there's been times where we've kind of taken some reps off of guys here or there just from a duration through the season standpoint. The nice thing about that is that now you get to evaluate and you get some new guys next to each other. You get to put some of those guys that might have been running against the second group and see them against the one defense. So we've been mix and matching, not fully flipping, what we're doing in terms of guys in their positions. But, yeah, you do kind of have some of those bumps and bruises through this point of fall camp, but nothing too significant.
What would, relatively speaking, having a fully healthy Jake Remsburg mean to you as a unit?
Yeah, I think Jake's day to day. The shot right now and the goal right now is that we can get him rolling back into practice and get him ready for week one. With that being said, it's a day-to-day thing, but our goal and our timeline right now is just, getting ready for that first week, getting him back rolling into practice and see where he's at.
How did he, it was an MCL, right, with him?
No comment.
Okay, on whatever the injury was, okay. What am I trying to ask you? Okay, so anyway, you say you hope to have him back.
Correct.
For whatever, something in 2 weeks.
Yeah, the goal is to get him back for the beginning of the season. Right now he's day-to-day. He's with our training room and with our training staff. And we're hoping that we can get, him in a position where he can get back on the field for the first game.
If he was going to start, was Triber?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So he's been on that right side, running with that first group right now. Has put some really good days together, and that's exciting. And we ended up kind of moving Morrow over to that right side too, and kind of shuffling some things around for the time being. But no, all positive from that standpoint.
Good.
Morrow was that was a big recruiting victory for you guys when you got him and then brought him in. I mean, is he starting to really flash that potential pretty early? And
yeah. I'm really excited about Tyler because he's so dynamic and he's so athletic. For him, coming out of high school, he's 260 pounds. Right when he got to us, he was a four-sport guy. He was playing some sport all year round and wasn't really doing football until fall camp, I guess, each summer. He was playing baseball all the way throughout. So when he got to us and you flash forward a year, now he's sitting about 295 and it's completely changed, his body. And with that comes, I feel like, with the fundamentals and the technique, that stuff becomes easier when you have mass and power behind you. But, I think for a guy at his size, his length out there in space, we're really, really excited about the amount of growth that he's made.
with Triber too, he's a guy that's really had to bide his time. What have you really seen of him? How's he taken that next step?
Yeah, I think he was a guy that had a really, really good spring practice. And he put 15 good practices together. He got sick, I believe it was, got mono or something at the end of spring. So he didn't end up playing in that Gilbert practice. But all of his video up until that point, he was really coming along, and we were fired up about him. And I think for him, it's a great opportunity. I think he's, like you said, he's bought his time. He has played in football games here. So, man, it's good to get him next to Darryl, get those guys going for a communication standpoint, But I think what he showed us in the spring, he just needs to continue to move in that direction.
With mono, did that present some like weight gain issues? Did he lose a
No,
lot of weight?
it
with
wasn't. He only ended up missing, I think, 2 practices,
Oh, wow,
or maybe
okay.
3 practices. It was kind of a freak deal. You know how that goes sometimes, that walking mono or something, where it's like in your system for weeks before they know.
Yeah.
But, yep.
Obviously, every group's different. What's the identity being formed of this unit with, Trevor more or less as the quarterback of the group? I
Yeah.
guess?
It's a little bit different than maybe the last couple years. You know, we had Trev was injured a couple years ago, and you kind of missed that link in the offensive line that year. But having him back and now as the leader, he doesn't say a whole lot, and he doesn't have to. And I think that's the interesting thing about his leadership style is because he leads by example. And when he talks, the guys do listen because he doesn't say a whole lot, but he knows when it's necessary and he knows when we need a spark in our room. But his consistency, the way that he goes to work, the way that he practices, you talk about, man, really the 3 inside guys. Like, they're kind of my Bash brothers in there because they're bringing kind of that mentality and that physical presence inside. Not that we've been lacking, but it's really exciting because they're throwing it around in there, and I would even say that you talk about the guys on defense that we're going against. You got Orion plugging A-gaps in there. You got Gary Vaughn plugging A-gaps on these guards. And then the guy, in my opinion, that's had one of the best fall camps is Isaiah Lee. Like, him and Trevor going against each other, it has been a dogfight every day. And I'm telling you, like, in my opinion, in the interior, like, that guy's been playing phenomenal. And they're just pushing each other, and they're having a lot of fun with it. And those are some of the things that when you sit back and you're evaluating these guys that you kind of start to notice.
Is any of that heightened at all when Coach Seed was with us? He talked about the first time you guys, just as O-line, D-line, came together as one group in certain settings and all that. Has that had a spillover effect just in terms of, not that they weren't close before, but just a different tweak kind of level of closeness?
Yeah, so when we did the coaches cook-off, I've become really good friends with Kyle Brown and Outlaw Barbecue, okay, who I worked with, and we kind of reached out to him and was like, man, we'd love to get together and do an O-line, D-line barbecue, and we were able to set that up this summer. It was a lot of fun for the guys, and yeah, I think anytime that you can get other position groups around each other, especially on different sides of the ball, because it's a lot of, offense is over here, defense is over here, and we're battling against each other. But when you can get those groups together, especially those guys that are battling against each other every day, we have a lot of fun with it. It's the same thing. Coach Sheed and I are really close, and we've been together for a long time now, and you can kind of see that between our rooms too.
How do you as an offensive line coach have any input? I don't know that's probably not the right word. How does the offensive line prove to Hunter, who's essentially a new who's essentially a new quarterback, when the pocket's going to break down, when to trust the pocket and when not to trust the pocket?
Yeah, I think that's one of Hunter's strengths, to be honest with you. I think, being a guy who is mobile and can move, but also can sit back there and still see things develop. And it does. It takes time to start to trust those guys in front of you, and maybe sometimes based on how people are blitzing us or what even the defensive front is, where some of those windows will open up and be. But our goal is always, man, can we keep the width of that pocket as wide as we can with our tackles and set that depth so that if he is going to be in there for a while, he can step up and deliver a ball over the middle. And that does. It builds time for those guys to be comfortable with each other. But I think that's one of his strengths. He's not quick to flee, and when he does it properly, and kind of within regards to how we build our pocket. But to your point, yes, it takes a lot of reps. It takes time. And against some of the guys that we have to protect against right now, it probably happens sooner than we would like. But I think he's done a fantastic job really being the voice back there, communicating to our guys up front. And it's been good. It's been an open communication. And so we're really excited.
The tackle spot opposite of Jake and Grant, how's that looking?
Yeah, I think Tyler's had a really good camp through this point. I think for him it's learning day to day. So even for a guy that's young, he's played a little bit, but he doesn't have all these snaps under his belt where when things are going crazy, he falls back into these years and years of reps and fundamentals, right? So for him, sometimes when he sees something, it might be the first time he's seen it or have to react in a certain way. So man, he's learning every day. He's in there and, you know, in the video room, constantly trying to pick up as much information as he can. But for, you know, a guy at his age doing what he's doing, I think has been, you know, really, really fascinating, exciting for us through at least to this point.
Is he not continuing his progress by going against one of the best?
Yeah, I think anytime, you know, and I said interior with Isaiah Lee having a strong camp, the guy that is probably the best passer rusher I've ever seen, and it's on video and all that stuff, even in crossover, is Will McDonald. And, you know, he does challenge us, even how we scheme our protections or making sure that we have multiple eyes on him. You know, we don't like to sit in situations, and I'm sure most teams in our conference don't either, where they're in a one-on-one with Will McDonald. But when we are in more controlled settings and we do have the opportunity to go one-on-one versus Will, it's the best rush that you're going to get probably through the season. And he's unique, he's dynamic, and challenges us every day to make sure, like, you can't go out there and be off because he'll make you look silly.